In a tense custody battle, Sarah Thompson entered courtroom 7, gripping her 5-year-old daughter, Emma's, small hand. The polished marble floor reflected the anxiety in Sarah's face as they made their way to their seats. Emma, with her bright blue eyes, glanced up at her mother, sensing the worry lines deepening around Sarah's mouth. They had been coming to this intimidating place far too often, where a stern man in a black robe presided over their fate. "Remember what we practiced, sweetie?" Sarah whispered, smoothing Emma's curly hair. "Just tell the truth about what you want and who you want to live with." Emma nodded, clutching her stuffed rabbit, Mr. Hoppy, tightly. Across the aisle, David Thompson adjusted his tailored suit, whispering to his attorney, a sharp woman whose fees exceeded Sarah's weekly income at the daycare. David had shown little interest in Emma's life after their divorce, but everything changed 6 months ago when Sarah refused his lowball offer to buy out her share of their home. The next day, David filed for full custody, claiming Sarah was financially unstable and unfit to be a mother. "All rise for the Honorable Justice Harold Myers," announced the bailiff. Justice Myers entered, his face a mask of neutrality. At 62, he had presided over countless family court cases, often favoring affluent parents. "We're here today to continue proceedings in the matter of Thompson versus Thompson regarding custody of the minor child, Emma Thompson, age 5, he stated. Sarah's attorney, Mark Bennett, had taken her case at a reduced rate since his daughter attended the daycare where Sarah worked. As the hearing progressed, David's attorney presented evidence of Sarah's financial struggles, focusing on her one-bedroom apartment, while downplaying David's past neglect during Emma's upbringing. Until 6 months ago, Mr. Thompson showed little interest in Emma's life, Mark argued. He missed birthdays and school events, while Sarah has been Emma's primary caregiver since birth. The court called in Mrs. Fletcher, the child welfare assessment officer. She had visited Sarah's apartment and had been disapproving of everything from the fold-out couch where Emma slept to the generic cereal in the pantry. Mr. Thompson's home environment is more conducive for a child's development, she said, despite Sarah's evident love for Emma. Next came Dr. Williams, a child psychologist who had interviewed Emma. While Emma expressed love for both parents, Dr. Williams noted signs of anxiety when discussing life with her mother, suggesting Sarah's financial stress affected Emma's sense of security. Mr. Thompson, could you explain why you've suddenly taken an interest in custody after years of minimal involvement? Justice Myers asked. David replied smoothly, I realized I prioritized my career over my family obligations. That was a mistake I deeply regret. I can now provide emotional support and financial stability that Sarah unfortunately cannot. When it was Sarah's turn, her voice trembled. I've been there for every scraped knee, every nightmare. I know Emma's favorite books and foods. I may not have a mansion, but I've created a loving home. Justice Myers decided to speak with Emma privately in his chambers. As Emma was led away, she looked back at her mother, uncertainty in her eyes. Sarah smiled encouragingly, her heart racing. Everything hinged on what Emma might say. When the recess ended and Emma returned, Sarah scanned her daughter's face for clues. Are you okay, sweetheart? Sarah whispered. Emma nodded. The judge asked me lots of questions about you and Daddy. I told him I want to stay with you because Daddy doesn't know how to make pancakes with faces. After reviewing the evidence and speaking with Emma, Justice Myers announced he would need time to consider his decision and would reconvene for the ruling on Friday morning. As they left the courtroom, Emma tugged at her sleeve. Why was that lady saying mean things about our home? I like our home. My bed folds up like magic in the morning. Sarah knelt down to her level. Some people think bigger houses are always better, sweetie, but you and I know that home isn't about size. It's about love. And pancakes with faces. Emma added, clutching Mr. Hoppy tighter. That night, neither mother nor daughter knew that before Friday arrived, little Emma would change everything with just 7 whispered words that would send shockwaves through the courthouse. The following day, an unexpected development required Justice Myers to reconvene before Friday's scheduled ruling. New evidence had surfaced, financial documents that David's legal team claimed proved Sarah's inability to provide adequate care. As the hearing continued, tension hung in the air. Emma sat beside her mother, her small legs swinging beneath the chair, when she felt a gentle tug on her sleeve. Excuse me, Mr. Judge, sir, came Emma's small voice. Justice Myers looked down, surprised to find Emma standing alone, clutching Mr. Hoppy. "You should be with your guardian right now," he said, kneeling to her level. Emma glanced around nervously. "I need to tell you a secret," she whispered, her serious expression making Justice Myers lean closer. "What is it?" he asked, his voice suddenly hoarse. Emma cupped her hands around her mouth and whispered directly into his ear, "Mommy said they paid you to take me away." The words hit Justice Myers like a physical blow. He studied her innocent face as a chill ran down his spine. "What did you say?" "Mommy told Auntie Karen that Daddy's friends paid you to give me to him," Emma elaborated, clutching Mr. Hoppy tighter. "I wasn't supposed to hear." Justice Myers felt the blood drain from his face. 3 weeks ago, he had received a substantial wire transfer into his investment account from a company he didn't recognize. Now, those funds took on a sinister implication. "This is very important, Emma," he said, keeping his voice steady despite his racing heart. "Did your mother say anything else about this?" Emma nodded solemnly. "She said rich people always help other rich people. That's why we can't win." Justice Myers felt a wave of nausea. Back in his chambers, he pulled up his banking records. There it was, a transfer from a shell company connected to David's business. As the hearing resumed, Justice Myers made a decision: he would not continue the hearing yet. He needed to investigate how deep this corruption ran. He locked his chamber's door, which he rarely did, and began his inquiry. He reviewed Mrs. Fletcher's reports and found them unusually harsh. Digging deeper, he discovered Dr. Williams had ties to David's properties, revealing a blatant conflict of interest. When he re-entered the courtroom, he addressed the parties waiting. "I'd like to address some inconsistencies in the evidence presented," he began, determined to uncover the truth. Suddenly, the courtroom doors burst open. A woman in a crisp suit strode in, heading directly from David's table. "Your Honor, CPS has approved an emergency petition by Mr. Thompson for immediate custody of Emma, based on concerning evidence of neglect in the mother's home." Emma gasped, reaching for her daughter protectively as the courtroom erupted in murmurs. Justice Myers narrowed his eyes, observing the situation unfold. "Miss Torres, I'd like to review these documents before any action is taken," he said, extending his hand. As he scanned the paperwork, he noted irregularities. The signature on the authorizing document belonged to someone on medical leave. "Officer Hanson, stay where you are," Justice Myers commanded, his voice cutting through the chaos. He slammed his gavel, invoking emergency judicial authority. "This court is in lockdown. Nobody removes that child." Security rushed in, responding to the judge's alarm. "Please ensure that Emma remains with her mother until I order otherwise," he instructed. The courtroom buzzed with tension as Justice Myers prepared to reveal the corruption that had plagued this case. He had seen enough. This was not just a custody battle, it was a hostile takeover of a child's life. The investigation revealed a web of deceit, with high-level connections attempting to manipulate the system for their gain. Within 48 hours, the FBI arrested David at the airport, trying to flee the country with millions in cash. 3 months later, the oak doors of courtroom 7 opened one last time. Emma and Emma entered, transformed from their previous appearances. Gone were the worry lines, their confidence shone through. Justice Patricia Anderson presided over the final proceedings. "This court extends its deepest apologies for the trauma inflicted upon you and your daughter by a system that failed to protect you," she stated. The court awarded Sarah full custody, reformed the trust for Emma, and provided compensatory damages for emotional distress. As the proceedings concluded, Emma whispered to her mother, "Are we rich now?" Sarah smiled, kissing her daughter's head. "We're secure, sweetheart. That's better than rich." Emma beamed, knowing that their love had triumphed over the challenges they faced. Justice Myers watched from the back, having resigned from his position to advocate for judicial reform, inspired by the courage of a little girl who had changed everything with her simple honesty.